who is your mentor? Like, how did you get into this, and how did this become the passion? Because no one wakes up in the morning and go, you know what? I want to be either Stan the Annuity Man, or I want to be Paul Merriman and look at markets. Go back in time a little bit, because I'd like to know that story. I'm sure our listeners and viewers would as well.
You know, my mentors, and I must have 1,000 of them, and I really mean that. My mother was a mentor, and she mentored me by teaching me, and I really mean this, be nice to everybody you meet in your life.
Wow.
And if you want to be a success, just try to figure out how you can help a person and you will be a success. My stepfather, who I absolutely hated, was a mentor.
Okay.
He made me afraid to even come into the room he was in, because he was physically and he was verbally and he was emotionally abusive. He really wished I didn't exist. I was screwing up things with my mother, I'm sure. But I learned from him. I learned how to survive with that guy by figuring out what's on his mind. What can I do to make him happy?
Wow.
But then I met people along the way who taught me how to help people invest. And I learned some things. For example, Ed put his arm around my shoulder when I went into the brokerage business. And he said, Paul, you got to understand this business. This business is not about making money for people. I was 22. I thought, wow, how can that be? That's why I came into the business.
Right.
He said, no, it's about creating loyalty. It should be as difficult to fire us as it would be to kick a child out of a home. And I learned, I cannot forget that conversation. And that's one of the reasons I left the business after less than 3 years, because it was not built to help people. In fact, I was taught you got to make a lot of money during the bull markets. When things are up and they're crazy, you got to keep selling, because that's when people want to buy. So then I got out of the industry and I met other mentors along the way that changed my life. But at age 40, I cashed in what I had been doing and I started my investment advisory firm. It was not originally Merriman Wealth Management, by the way, Stan, because my minimum size account was $2,000.
I hear you.
That did not qualify as wealth. But I was just having a good time, because theoretically I was a member of the FIRE group. I just didn't realize I was an early retiree, because I'm a workaholic. So even when I'm playing, I do it like a workaholic.
Right.
But I learned from people what is in fact in their best interest. And when I sold let me just do one more thing. And this is not a sales pitch. When I built my business, and I know other people who have built it the same way since I did this, and they have been very successful. I had classes. It's like what you're doing. I can't believe the education that you're giving people on your website.
Yeah.
And I direct people to you all the time. I said, go look at the YouTube pieces. He'll send you a free library of books on annuities.
That's true.
And I have never had one of those people come back to me and say a salesman called.
Never.
And this is what I did. And so I would teach 3- and 6-hour classes and show people how to do it all on their own.
Wow.
And then guess what? Some people won't. And so they knew what I believed, and a lot of them hired us to do it for them. So when I retired, and this is partly my wife's doing actually, because I was looking, what am I going to do next? And within weeks, I was writing the column for Market Watch. Within months, I was underwriting a course at Western Washington University up in Bellingham, Washington, where I graduated. And then because of a mentor, a guy named Tom Cock, Tom helped me learn how to do podcasts. And he actually helped us have a radio show locally in Seattle when we had our firm. An amazing mentor and a very dear friend. In fact, most of my mentors, with the exception of my stepfather, have become really good friends over my life. So I built the business based on helping others. And when if you're a brain surgeon, you don't have to be that way. I mean, you just do your work.
Right.
But I suspect they're trying to do their best work too, helping others. But you know something, when you're in the world of sales, there's a fork in the road. You can help others in a fair way and do okay. And I'm going to tell you one of my mentors in just 1 second about that. Or you can do it in a way that you rape and pillage, and you end up with all the goodies. I spent 90 minutes with John Bogle back in 2017. And one of the things that came out of that conversation, his absolute commitment to the small investor. The reason he didn't want to do some of the things that I believe that he should do in terms of educating his investors is he was afraid they wouldn't do it. And that if they didn't do it, it would hurt them rather than help them. And he also, and he literally wiggled his finger at me, kind of one of these things.
Right.
He said, you're making things too complex. If you want to help people, you've got to simplify it.
Hey, Stan the Annuity Man here. Did you like that little taste of my podcast, Fun with Annuities? Hey, if you want to see the full version, click the link and watch the whole darn thing. Remember, Fun with Annuities. Live in the reality, not the dream.